Brilliant. And I'll just hand over to Paul to do some of what he does best.
Just questionable. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, it is good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. It's such a lovely day. I see some of you managed to get outside, which is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I did work briefly for Communities Creating Homes. It was part of my role when I joined Wales Co-operative. I now look after the business hubs and various commercial contracts. My background in business planning, I did my degree, 20 years ago now, but I did my thesis on the value of a business plan. I've worked with business planners for quite a lot. Throughout the time I've been a business advisor for the Prince's Trust. In doing so, I used to be the person where business plans go to be analysed and checked off before they get sent for funding. So I would ensure that anyone that came my way, that when they were going for funding for their business plan, it was absolutely up to scratch, because I don't like to see people disappointed. And now I support 2 different business hubs, and I deliver this kind of similar session quite regularly. So today's going to be a bit of a chalk and talk, because business planning is quite a big subject. I'm hoping it's not going to be as boring as business planning sounds. What I have got for you, or what the team have got for you, is a business plan template. I've also got all the slides which I've sent to Claire, and I'll put them in the chat later. If you can't download them off the chat, see Claire, and we can get them sent to you. What else? A lot of this is questions. That I'm not going to tell you absolutely what you need to put in your business plan. I'm going to give you the questions you need to consider, because not every business is different. Every type of business has got different questions they need to answer. And so I totally accept that. There's going to be a lot of questions that you're going to get prompted, and it's for you to decide what ones are relative to you and your business and what you need to answer in your business plan. Now, just as we go through this session, when I put my slides up, I can only see my slide. I cannot see you. So, and what we do find is sometimes there's a bit of an issue with when I answer questions in the question box. What I'm going to do is, if you've got any questions, write them down on a piece of paper, and we'll answer all those at the end. I think that'll probably be the best way forward. Otherwise, we could be stop and starting. So without any further delay, I'm going to start sharing my slides now, and we will go through future-proof planning. Okay, just moving these taskbars. Okay, so let's start off. This is my before COVID, this was my favorite program, Race Across the World. If anyone hasn't seen it, basically you have a number of competitors. They're all pairs, and they're given the price of a flight to go somewhere else in the world. So on the last season, I can't remember where it was something like Argentina. They have to get there with the price of a flight of a ticket, but they're not allowed to fly there, and they're not allowed to use a phone. They have to thumb a lift, find public transport. Why am I saying this, and why is this up there? It's because the people that are the most successful at achieving this are the people that stop and plan their route. So if we look at the competitors from the last season here, these 2 guys won the season. They blew a load of money on week 1 on their first part of the journey, and they just quickly realized that if they are going to make it to the end, they really need to stop, get a strategy together to work out how they're going to get to the end, because they spent, like, I don't know, a fifth of their budget on day 1. And so they really stopped. And it just so, happens that this gentleman here of the pair is apparently quite a successful businessman. So he already had that strategy in place. This couple here didn't take care of their money, and they lost it halfway through. This here went along with the experience, and they got sidetracked with the things which they love. They used it. If that's what they want to do, fantastic. But because they got sidetracked and they went to things that they wanted to enjoy, they lost focus of the end being, and basically lost all their money, and they had to give up, and they didn't complete it. And the reason I say this is that with a business plan, we need to find out what our vision is and where we need to go. And our plan is just the way that we get there. That it is as simple as that. Now, there's lots like terminology. I've got a little saying there: if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. This is what we usually get from a business plan. This is the English dictionary, and it is as boring as it sounds. Me personally, I like to say it's a roadmap to find the best way to get to your final destination. Now, I did skip a slide there. I will quickly go back to that in a moment. I will do that now, actually. This is what we call a business model canvas template, and I would suggest this is something that you just get your ideas down first. It's not part of your business plan. It's not a business plan. It's just something that if you are going on your journey, and your journey is your business or your housing cooperative or your community-led housing scheme, these are some of the key questions that you can just outline before you even start to write your business plan of the things you may need to consider. Now, this is from a traditional business. And this is what I'm saying today, is that a lot of the questions I'm going to put up here today are from a generic business plan, and some of the things you may want to reconsider and see them in your own context. But yeah, these are some of the key questions that you would need to look at when starting your business plan. So what I would simply suggest is get a business model canvas template such as this, and you answer those questions first, just to give you an outline to find that you're on the same track. And we have got a template available, and we can put one in the chat later, and we can also send it to you if you wanted to. So that's something I would say you can do in advance. So who do we write the business plan for? Whenever I ask this question, a lot of the people say the bank manager. For me, a business plan is for you. You as an organization. This is your strategy document. I was actually talking to a very successful entrepreneur the other day, which actually doesn't do business planning, but he also in the same breath told me how much money he'd lost on his journey. And so your business plan is your strategy. It is fundamentally for you. That means it doesn't have to be reams and reams of text. It doesn't have to be focused in the ideal world. It needs to be realistic because it's your document. When I first started looking into business plans, this is before, it sounds like I'm really old, but before we were writing them out on Word documents, etc., it was a hard copy document. And we always said a business plan should be like this really grainy, coffee stained piece of paper that you refer to on a daily basis to ensure that your business is on track. And I've absolutely keep with that fundamental thought that a business plan is your strategy going forward, and it's the same thing that you review. You sit down there now with yourself and any other partners that you've got in this business, or people which are moving into the same scheme with you, and you co-design that together so you all know what page you're on. But you are going to be tempted by things which may sidetrack you, funding opportunities for etc. Other opportunities, other pieces of land we come up. Does this fit in with the principle that you were originally achieving to go? You may want to change direction, but there's always this notion that you need to keep on track, stay focused. If you decide to deviate, that is up to you. Just make sure that you have, considered all opportunities first. I see so many businesses that get tempted by carrots dangling at the side, and they go towards it, and they lose their identity. They really do. And so it's about ensuring that the business plan is for you. Of course, you will need, there is an opportunity that you need investors, and people need to see financial versions such as banks, funders, etc. It will happen, but fundamentally the business plan is for you. Investors, in all honesty, when I worked for banks, they were only interested in the financial part. The financial part is fundamental, but the way you operate your business is also just as fundamental. You need money, you need the both, but you need to define how you're going to operate on a day-to-day basis and where your vision is. That is a fundamental part of your business. So you need to ensure that number one is for you, but for investors, I would personally give them a different version of your plan. You take your core plan and you give them a version which is more suited to them and is more flexing their needs. I've never seen a financial investor investigating how a person individually markets. Are they going to go on social media or question it? They look at the figures. And so the detail of how you operate your business, if you write it for investors, you're going to miss quite a bit chunk of the stuff that you need for your daily strategic action. So it's number one for you. And number three is for the public. And for the public, what I mean is if you are going to do a community-led scheme, or you want more people to join, community share scheme, or if you are a community-led scheme and you want people to know what you're achieving, also write a business plan, but it needs to be a stripped down version. No one wants to read a big lengthy version. I would say I would give them an exact summary of what you're looking for, but certainly you may need a business plan to try and get some public support or new people to come into your fold. So, but keep that in mind. Each of those plans are for different reasons and for different people, but the fundamental one is for you. The others, you can just cut and paste parts of it, which is the part which is most relevant and interesting to those people. It's for you. So for me, what is a business plan? For me, it's a roadmap to get to your destination, and it's a sat nav for keeping you on track. It tests if your idea is feasible and then it is realistic. And I mean that. I've had as a business advisor, I had a young person who said, there's no food restaurants on Queen Street in Cardiff. This is before, with the exception of Burger King and the fast food. I want to open a Chinese restaurant on Queen Street, Cardiff. Why is that? Because no one else is doing it. You're right, no one else is doing it. But when you look at the feasibility of how much it costs to rent a building on Queen Street in Cardiff, you realize that it's not feasible. It's not realistic. You can never make the overheads basically from someone starting up new and at scratch. It would need a well-established chain to be able to put something there like that. So it tests your idea, and it makes you stop and think of all the actions that you are doing to ensure that, is this realistic? Is this going to work? And is it worth my time and effort? It's a working document. As I said, things change. So you need to keep looking at your plan to keep yourself focused. It's a way to sell your product. Like I said, if you want investment, or if you want people to be supported, people need to know what your intentions are. They need to know that you're competent to do it. They need to see your end goal, and they need to see how will it affect them. Needed source funding, as I said. It's a checklist to ensure that you've considered everything on your journey, that you haven't forgotten anything. And I mean that. A friend of mine started a business. He had a record shop, and he thought he had everything nailed. And it was in the town centre of a busy town centre. I'm not going to say where in case it tarnishes its reputation, but he forgot security. He forgot to put shutters on his shop window. What happened on the first night out when people went drinking? Someone smashed his window, and he hadn't put that in his business plan, security. And I know this is far away from what you're all trying to achieve here, but it is a checklist to ensure that you have considered everything. It's that time of doing the process of writing a business plan to help you stop and think of, have I considered everything that I need to consider basically in going forward? And it's a contingency plan when things are not, if we don't live in a perfect world, things will be sent to test you. Not everything will go right. But if you've already thought about it and consider what your actions will do in your business plan, you're not going to put your head in the sand. As a business advisor, I once had a young client who basically said his advertising strategy, his marketing strategy was to have a website, realizing later that you need to do a lot of promotion behind your website, and no one was going to it because no one knew about it. He just basically buried his head in the sand rather than dealing with it. So at least if he had, he could have sat there and thought of another alternative strategy of marketing his business and or pointing people in the direction of his website. So you do need to have a contingency plan. You need, there's a thing I do at the end. I have a business plan, which I will cover at the end, but everything I write in a business plan, I look at it at the end of the whole process and think, what if that goes wrong? What if that doesn't happen? And that is absolutely fundamental, because things can go wrong. And sadly, things will go wrong, but you need to be prepared and have some sort of idea ready for when that happens. So what does a good business plan look like? you've got to assume that the reader knows absolutely nothing about business or the sector. If you put something under the nose of a general TSB bank's nose and you're mentioning things about community-led housing, they will, it's likely that person hasn't come across that sector before and doesn't have any understanding. So you've got to write that business plan, if this is for someone else, that they don't know nothing about it. If you write it for yourself, fab, use acronyms, use anything you want. But when you do pass it on to someone else, you need to make sure you've stripped that out and ensure that it's clear for anyone else. Describe things concisely and accurately. That doesn't mean details and reams of text. That just means bullet points and accurately and concisely. Yeah, clear and structured layout so someone can follow it, read easily and understand it. So you have got some sort of sensible way of going through your project, going through your plan. Keep it simple and concise and use simple language and try and avoid acronyms. Once you've used them, you've explained what the acronym is, it's fine. But I've seen so many business plans where the acronyms will be used straight away, assuming that the reader understands what these acronyms are. And I just there for a joke. By the way, Welsh Government love TLAs, 3-letter acronyms. If you did, I had to explain that. So some people were like, what does that all mean? But it's exactly the same for anyone else reading a business plan from an outside perspective. Avoid waffle. You don't need to go on and on. You don't need to know that the sun was shining. I've seen business plans which are like 2 inches thick, and I'm like, this could have been done in 25 pages. So yeah, just keep it relevant, keep it concise. There's no need for masses of detail. Just put the points down. Use appendices. For the stuff which is chunky and there is a lot of information, just put that in your appendices. You don't have to include your whole financial forecast or the whole strategy or your funding strategy in the main body of text. Top level, top line information, refer to the appendices. If people want to find out the detail, that's where you'll send them. Try and keep a business plan between 15 and 25 pages. If I want any further information, I will look in those appendices. But really, it's really disheartening to have like the 2-inch thick page business plan put on your desk. It really is. Keep it to 50 to 25 pages. That will stop and encourage someone to read. And it's what takes half an hour instead of taking days and having to absorb lots of information. Keep it between 15 to 25 pages. Keep it entertaining. Keep it not entertaining, but you want it to be enthusiastic. The second I look at a 2-inch thick document, my enthusiasm for reading your business plan has already gone. Trust me. So you need to keep it short and sweet. So what does a good business plan look like? Involve as many people as practical. And what I mean that is that if one person writes that business plan on behalf of the organization, you're only writing it from that person's perspective. When I used to deliver this training session out and about in the days prior to COVID, and I used to deliver this training session with different groups, I would give them a little task. I would say, I'd pick an area. So I'll do that right now. We're not going to do the exercise, but I live in Merthyr. If I asked you all in 3 sentences, just 3 sentences, tell me how I get from Merthyr to Cardiff, I can guarantee you most of you will say something completely different from the next person. People will tell me how to get there, as in what mode of transport. People will have different views on different roads I should take. Everyone will have a different viewpoint. So which one is right? They're all right in one sense, but they're all from the perspective from individuals. So what I say to people is never put the onus of writing the plan on one individual. It needs to be what I call co-produce, where you have all the stakeholders involved, all working in unison. You can separate tasks, and it also makes, what happens if you put the onus on one person, that person leaves, you're stuck. It's that person's ideas, that person understands it. So it needs to belong to the collective. And so everyone in that collective should have an involved part in it. And you should all equally have a fundamental understanding of what is there as well. So yeah, by doing that, that will give you the plan that represents the group. the organization, not just the perspective of the individual. If you've got 20, I think 20 people would be a ridiculous amount of people to be involved in the project. But so you need to break that into representatives. But if you've got a group of about, I think, and this is my personal view, a team of about 5 people with equal stake and equal representations from different groups. I think a nice team of about 5 people would help. If you are on your own, either get a business advisor, your community-led advisor from one of the team here, to someone who can question you on it. Because trust me, I've helped so many individual entrepreneurs which get tunnel vision, and sometimes you need to get some other person's perspective to help you rethink. I've seen so many individuals which look at a business plan. It's because it's built on passion, which is absolutely fantastic. But sometimes they get so much tunnel vision, they think that nothing could go wrong. And that's where you got the angel and the devil on your shoulders. What if that goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? You do need someone to be that independent person to say, what if? And you really do need that. Otherwise, it's completely one track, and you do need other perspectives. And you never know. The more people involved, the more ideas, and the more help you get. Always include an executive summary. If you've got a business plan, which is hopefully no more than 25 pages long, that one first page or 2, it can be 1 or 2 pages, should tell me everything I need to know. And that is the thing which will make me read even more. So you've got a little bit of a structure, little pyramid here. If you want me to be really interested, you should really get my attention with a really good executive summary, which just gives me the key points. And that makes me want to read your business plan even further. And by reading your business plan even further, gets me even more excited. And that entices me then to read the parts that I'm interested in within your executive summary. And it should always be an ongoing, as I said, it's not just for the now. This is an ongoing document which continues and takes you on and on. It's a working document, something that you constantly refer to ensure that you're on track, and everyone is bought into it. And that's the other thing. It's all about buying into it as well. It's just a matter of that. If you got new people coming on board, they should be able to read your executive summary and then a bit more your 25 page business plan, and they're like, actually, yeah, I agree what they're doing, and I want to be part of this. So it should be something that it shouldn't be an onerous task that we need to do a business plan. It should be something which should entice more members, or should entice funders to actually part their money with you if you are going down the funding route. So what does a business plan look like? There are a number of generic sections, and we have got a template business plan for you. So the team have got it. We can send that out to you. And these are the general sections in that order. So you've got executive summary, business description, market research, sales and marketing. You can read the rest, but that is the general order of any business plan. And that is the order of the business plan that we've got a template for you. The executive summary should be last. At the end of the day, if you wrote it now, I can guarantee you by the time you've gone through all the detail, you would be changing every word of it anyway. So just leave it to last. And it's very basic. Name of your group, legal structure, background, location of the business. It's just the core fundamental information that I would want to know if I picked it up. And these are literally sentences and bullet points. So always complete the executive summary last. But it is really important because that is, like I say, your key selling point. That is the thing that this needs to be the thing which entices me to read more. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about business plan, and this is going to be the thing I'm going to spend more detail on anything, because it's the one thing that I always see missing from business plan, but I think is probably the most important thing you're ever going to do. And it's your vision, your mission, your values, aims, and objectives. So your vision is your big picture, is what you're going to achieve. And I be aspirational on this. Bill Gates' vision was, I want to see a computer on everyone's desk. At the time, computers were the size of a building. No one ever saw that. And it's like there is a computer virtually on most people's desks now, but there's other competition to come in. Alzheimer's disease is Alzheimer's Society is to cure Alzheimer's disease. Massive ask. It's aspirational. Hopefully one day we'll do it. But they also know that it's going to take a lot to do it. But that's the vision. That's the thing which inspires. So your vision needs to be big vision. It also needs to be at some point achievable, but a long way down the line. Quite a long way. Like I said, if we cured Alzheimer's disease today, then the Alzheimer's Society would be like, right, so what do we do now? But yeah, your vision is that big aspirational thought. The mission is going to give a little bit more detail, the what, who, and why, and how we're going to get there. Your values are the things that you live for, which meets your vision. The things that manage you and your people, the colleagues, the other residents which are in your scheme. These are the things which bring you all together. And that's the thing that people buy into, is your values. So you need to ensure that you've got your values kind of aligned, really. I've got an exercise sheet as well, which I can also send you, a little exercise about doing your values. Usually if I was with you, I've got these cards and we all sit round and we kind of, we've got like 50 different values, and we kind of whittle them down to 3 values that everyone in that room will abide by and really generally feel for. That's what they believe in. Therefore, anyone else which comes into the scheme has to fit in with those values. Unfortunately, we're not in that position with COVID restrictions, but I've got a little exercise. I will send that to Claire. I haven't sent it yet. I will send it to her after this. Your aim, these are more practical. These are what you want to achieve towards your vision. They are steps towards it. And your objectives are even more practical. Again, these are actual activities that you're going to do. So, oh, look at that. It wasn't just thing. There's the 2 quotes. Your vision, like I say, is your overarching view that everyone should aspire to. This is the big thing, but like I say, being realistic, it's essentially why you do it. It's essentially why people invest in you and why people believe in you, will join in your scheme, will fund you. It's the why. So I've got a little video here I'm going to show you. It is talking about Apple products, I will not lie, but see beyond that, see beyond the product and see what the message is. It lasts about 5 minutes, so I'm just going to play that for you now.
I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat screen TVs. They've been making flat screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. And Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. When we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. Sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and your figures, and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right. Because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart, or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't other body parts controlling your behavior. It's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal?
Yeah, that was Simon Sinek with Start With Why. And so many people, whenever I read business plans, tell me the what and how they're going to do things, but the why is never there. And as he says there, the why is why people invest in you, why people follow you. You look at a product, Patagonia, for example. They are there trying to be the most sustainable as possible. They don't make any products for noisy sports. And the rubber is made out of the swimsuit is made out of sustainable sustainable products. Everything they try to do is about sustainability. Even they tell people to repair their clothes rather than go and buy a new one, because they're not thinking about what they do, they're thinking about why they do it. They want to be sustainable. They want to spread a message. You think about nurses on the front line today. People don't become nurses to work 60-hour shifts and stand on a ward where they risk their lives every day. They're doing it to save lives. They see themselves as an important function, and that's the thing which inspires them to go into work every day, no matter how hard it is why they do it. So this is why I thought it's really important. You would be surprised the number of business plans I see that people put the vision and values as a very tokenistic, fluffy thing at the end. But actually, why is absolutely fundamental to everything to do. It's why people are going to invest in you. It's why people are going to join you. It's why people are going to buy from you. And it should be apparent in everything you do to market. So if you're going to advertise your scheme, if you're going to advertise a product, for example, it should be included in everything you do. And a simple example here, I'll show you in a minute. Sorry, that's coming up at the moment. But yeah, I'm going to go back to this. Sorry. Why? This is by the part of your vision and your why, how, and what. Your why is your vision and your mission statement. Your how is embedding your values, the culture that you're going to have within your organization, and the what is what you're going to do. Your aims and your objectives, what you're going to be able to do on a day-to-day basis. And like I said, people will follow you for your aspirations and secondly, your values that you believe in, not from what you do on a day-to-day basis. It takes a lot more than that. So to example, I don't know if anyone wants to put this in the chat. These are corporate companies, by the way, but corporate companies which are using their vision and value. Can anyone put in the chat where they get to guess what that mission statement is, what company that mission statement is from? Anyone? Know what you mean, Gavin? That's it. Exactly. Yeah. Coca-Cola. One sentence, and and that's in. This is their vision and their mission statement. But you've probably, I guess, you've never looked into Coca-Cola's mission statement. It's not a thing that normal people do. I am normal, honestly, but we've all picked that up from the products, the advertisements that we see. So it just proves that they are thinking of their vision and they're embedding it in everything that they do. Here's an easy one. If you want to have a go, tell people around the world, plan and have the perfect trip. Yeah. It could be either of those two, in all honesty, but it is TripAdvisor. But like I said, this is their vision and their mission statement. And even from the things that we've picked up from, I doubt we've all gone in and checked in to try and find out, but it resonates with everything they do. And that is the message here, is that once you need to establish your vision and your mission first, because that will resonate through everything. On the display there, these are the things that we're doing, but this needs to resonate right all the way through, because that's the thing that people are going to buy into. Yeah. So one way we do that, and we did this for the project actually, and I advocate doing one of these for any type of project, is this never comes up in business planning. So this is kind of unique. It's usually used for community development type of processes or project development. But I would strongly suggest that you embed something like what's called a theory of change. And I've got a template of one of these you could have as well. There's plenty around. There's a really good one by Nesta, if you want to Google that, Nesta, and some really good tools by Nesta, to be honest with you. But what it does, it helps you work backwards. What is your organization's vision? You put it in here. What's the problem it's trying to solve? What impact do you want to make? And then what are you going to do to try and resolve that? And then break it down into more finite objectives. And then this is what you do on year 3, year 2. You're not expecting you to do it all in one go, but it helps you plan that roadmap of achieving your vision. And all the way along, we put down what the assumptions are. Things that can go wrong, things that can go right, things that we are absolutely assuming. So that we need to verify and ensure that they are correct. So that's another little supplement that I would do as well, is to put together some sort of a nice little action plan. I'm giving you the outline of a business plan here, but there's 3 fundamental tools which can help you plan that in advance. You had the business model canvas right at the beginning. That's a very good little tool, just as a snapshot view of what you're going to do. This is another version, and I've got another one later on down the line for marketing for you as well. So these are the questions that you would put in your second section. We're only on section 2. it's not that bad, to be honest with you. The fundamental is once you get your vision nailed and your objectives, all of this kind of becomes quite easy to reach. And a lot of these are very simple questions. There's no need to go into any great detail of essays, bullet point, one word answers, etc. This is the core stuff that people need to know. So when was your scheme established? What does it do? What are the trends of your market? Where is it based? How many members? As you can see, you could answer those 4 questions in a matter of 2 sentences. So it's not as long as everyone as it appears first, but these are the kind of questions you need to be asking yourself within a business description. Then your organizational structure. I am not going to go into that at the moment. That is one for Casey because she's on the call, but we can look at the different structures for community-led housing that you can go into, and you need to put down the form of a community-led housing scheme you're going to go for, why you chose that structure, and the team that are behind it, as in the board of directors, and if you've got an assigned an operational management team. And in doing that, what are their roles and why are they doing that roles? It could be that you've got someone who's managing the operations because that's part of what they've done in a previous job, or they doing it now, and it is their project management is kind of their thing. So that helps, that gives confidence of competence in those roles there to say why we've chosen this person to do that. Your management organization, so yeah, it's your team, the people around you, like I said, who does what. Also include the external support that you've got available to you. So this presentation is usually from another scheme, but Wales Co-operative Centre can help you, social business ratings can help you, but the community-led housing team are there to help you with your specific community-led housing needs. There's lots of support out there, and put all that down, because what people, that guy I said about earlier, which just basically put his head in the sand. There was so much free support out there available to that person. He only needed to have a chat. This just basically says that you're aware that if things did go wrong, or if you needed help, there's actually support out there that you can go to speak to, and people can talk you through the process. You're not doing this on your own. If you're going to set up a housing scheme and you're the only person mentioned in it, that would really give me a question of concern. I would be asking in that business, if I was looking at that business plan, I would say, who else can you count on if things go wrong? Who else can you bounce this idea across? And you need to put them all down. Also, you may need to put down, if you're looking at people which got specific expertise, like if you're going to bring a consultant in for something, or an accountant, for example, construction experience, you need to put those down as well. So you know that you are working with reputable people, that if you don't know how to do it, you're working with someone who does. And that's it. We can't be expected to know and do absolutely everything. There's going to be a time when we need to call on other people and other services to help us along. So then the business description, in a very, very short, snappy way. What are you going to do? Who is it aimed at? Why have you chosen to do it? Where and how? This does not have to be an essay. I've seen this going on for pages. It has to be very brief. And I would say you need to do your market research first before you go into any of this. This is one of these things that you need to explore further. And on that subject, market research, I think you've all heard the thing, never assume. Assume makes an ass of you and me. Evidence, evidence, evidence. The core fundamental problem that I've always found in business plans is people put down their perceptions rather than the evidence. And that is really, really important. What you may think is going to happen, or people will buy from you, you need to guarantee that. I ran a conference 3 weeks ago with people that have been on television, and that television program is on now. And we assumed wrongly that because of that, we're going to get loads and loads and loads of people attending this conference. 8 people attended the conference. It was a really good conference, but you would have thought, I'm doing social media advertising on the back of a TV program, which is on primetime TV, that people would turn up and watch that, and people didn't. And so you can't assume anything. So you've got to ensure that you've got your evidence. There's two ways of doing evidencing in your research. There's desk research. This is the stuff which already exists and you can find out from your computer and from documents, etc. And there's also field research. These are the things that you need to go out and discover yourself. People are very scared of this, but unfortunately, if you are going to go out, this is the thing you need to do. You need to go out there, walk and talk to people to find out if this is what people want, basically. I'm not going to go through this today, but this is a nice little chart that I used to do. Out of every statement I would make, I would put it into this box just to ensure that I've checked it. I need everything to be a fact, to be honest with you. So what are the things are facts? What is opinions? What are rumors? So you ensure this is, it's just a nice simple exercise, is that everything statement you've got, you check that it's not an opinion or a rumor, it is an absolute fact. If you are going to do your consultation, you can do things like questionnaires. Just make sure that it is relative and it does a good job. This is a survey I had within a restaurant the other day, and hats off to them for doing a bit of research, but this piece of research, in my idea, is pretty bad. Because they say, what do you think of our food? What do you think of the selection? What do you think of the service? Would you hear each year again? Yes or no? Yeah, nice questions. But what are they going to do with my answers? If I said it was bad food and the selection was bad and the service was bad, do they know why it was bad? No. If I said it was all great, okay, they can keep on going, but they don't know what I love about it. Same again. Would I eat it again? If I said yes, there's no question to ask why I would. It could be that I just live next door. It's nothing to do with the food. And food may be terrible, but there's no other option. And the same thing, would you? No, they don't ask why. So there you go. If you are going to do questionnaires, think clearly of your questionnaire. I would say do a questionnaire, no more than 10 questions. I'd suggest, because people don't like doing long questionnaires, and test them with people first, and ask people to be awkward, because no one's going to give you perfect responses. You have one question which is slightly out of alignment, and they all fall down. So yeah. So what things do you need to research? You need to look at policies. So what government policies are relevant to your business, whether that be housing, environmental, etc., Welsh Future Generations Act, etc. Statistical stuff. So what are your geographics, your demographics, and your market size? Operational. This is going to be absolutely down to the individual. How are you going to run your business or your scheme? What do you need? Who's going to be involved? This is going to be different for absolutely everyone. There's that thing, that evidence, demand. Demonstrate the demand for your project. Need to know that people actually want it and are going to go through the process. Even if you are hit with carrots to try and tempt you away, or bad things that happen, people still need to be resilient enough to go through. So you need to evidence that demand. Have a look at if there's any competition that can either compete or complement you, and I mean that. Competitors can be your best friend sometimes. If they offer something that you don't, you can work together to form some sort of an alliance to help each other out. And you've got the old business term, the pestle analysis, your political, economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors. I would I said, keep it brief. For each of those pestle factors, put a sentence down that says how this will affect your scheme and what you're going to do about it. A couple of years ago, you would have thought there's not much change, but with COVID, all of those, I think, have had a bit of an effect on them. Economic, definitely. Social, technological, absolutely. Brexit as well. So costs on things. So things will change. So we haven't got a crystal ball, but what we need to know is that you anticipate that things can happen, and you're prepared to do what you're able to do when and if they happen. Just to help you out, there's some websites here. Like I said, I will share the slides. There's stuff about the Future Generations Act at that web address, and the different legals on Welsh on .gov.wales. Statistics, there's some good place. If employment statistics is Nomic Web, but you got Statistics Wales, which has got statistics on nearly everything. Business trends, I know that may not be applicable to some people, but if you do want business trends, there's a software called Cobweb. It's expensive, but I think a few of us at the centre have got it, business advisors. Social Business Wales have got it, which is part of our scheme as well. And library services, you can join the library, and apparently they've got access for public access to Cobweb. What do I mean by what information's there? It's more towards businesses, but you'll have local demographic and costs. If say you're going to set up alongside your scheme some sort of food cooperative, and you're going to sell something, say honey, and you want to retail honey, you can go on there and put honey retailer, and it'll tell you where the competition is, what's the usual price, what kind of demographics go for what type of honey. Anything which has been captured on that has been collected. It's a really useful tool. Another really good one is the ONS have got a community insight profile. ONS as well, sorry, Office of National Statistics have got lots of information on people, population and community. Community insight profile, they give you geographical information on absolutely everything. They're absolutely fantastic. However, it's a really expensive package. Only some charities and housing associations have got access to it. But if you know someone in a housing association that you are working in alignment with, ask them if they've got community insight. It's fab. Basically what it does is that, say you wanted to have a scheme in the Bridgend area, just making it up now, Bridgend, they've got a map of Bridgend, they put a circle around that area, and basically you press a button, 5 minutes later, 47 pages of statistics pop out. Demographics, employment statistics, house prices, absolutely everything that has been collected has been collated into that. But you do need to know someone who's got it. And if you're in Wales, there's a new website, which is, well, relatively new, called Understanding Welsh Places. They gives you some demographic about your information, demographic information about your locality, or whatever locality you put into the computer. So stuff like house prices and demographics, basically age, population, etc. You can use apps and look at their analytics. That's a bit complex, so we can at the enterprise hubs at Carmarthenshire and Newtown, there are business classes going on at the moment. You're more than welcome to attend, and there's some sessions coming up shortly which look into how to look at websites for I can't say the words, analytics, and so they are very helpful. There's things you can put into there's certain sites which can help you find out about people's interest in products, etc. if that's something. Your operational, that's going to be up to you, or how you're going to operate the business. Demand, like I said, you need to go out there and find out that people are definitely interested in what you want to do. Custom, yet again, find out who your customers are, the types of people that are interested in your values and interested in your scheme. Have a look at what competition's out there. All of that is about a mixture of a bit of desk and a bit of field research, and your pestle analysis is looking at your mix of policy and statistical from up there. If you want to ask questions, like I say, a quick way to do it is Surveymonkey. We're in a digital world at the moment, and we're limited with who goes where. So I found using Surveymonkey is quite simple. I had to do a quick questionnaire before, and I used my own personal account. So what I did was, with Surveymonkey, up to 10 questions is free. So take advantage of that. Come up with your 10 questions, post them in your Facebook site, and you can spread them that way. But what you can also do, if you've got a Facebook page or an Instagram page, you can boost that. I'm not going to go into that detail now. I do teach that on the Hubs session if that's something you would like to know more about. But I'll give you a very quick example. I needed to get 100 questionnaires done on a certain project I was working on years ago. I spent a week, printed out over 1,500 pieces of paper, and with a week to go, I only had 10 people complete it. I did the same question online. I put it on Facebook. I paid Facebook £8, all of £8 to boost it to a 1 mile radius of the office, which was central to where I was doing my research. And it reached about 200 people that night, and 87 people completed that questionnaire within the next 24 hours. So it does work. So yeah, have a look at emailing and boosting it on Facebook or Twitter. I'm going to go through, I know that we're pressed for time now, so this is going to be quite quick. I know we're not selling products, but still your product is what you're offering people. And this is going to be really quick. We need to look at what we call the marketing mix. And these are the products, the place, the price, and the promotion. These are all the things that you need to consider with regards to your scheme. I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm going to give you the questions that you need to ask with regards to these, just to give you an example of why it matters so much. At the end of the day, we've got two different products there, both costing, there's a big difference in cost, big difference in flavor, big difference in packaging, but at the end of the day, they're both crisps. And I know that may seem a million miles away from me, what all you're doing, but each of your community-led housing schemes will be completely different in its own right. And so you'll need to promote it if you want more members, if you want to tell people what you do in completely different ways. And so you need to look at your market and promote in a way that your ideal market will find it, basically. It's what we call fish where the fish are. So you need to consider how you're going to approach those people. So I'm going to quickly show you the questions, but I'm not going to go through them. But you need to have a look at for the what you're offering. These are some of the questions that, regardless if you're a housing scheme or if this is a product, these are some of the same questions. They're still applicable. Not all of them, but some of them are still applicable, of why people should invest in you. Where is it? Where it can be located? How are you going to promote it? How are you going to reach more people? And if there is a cost to anyone, and that may not be applicable in your scheme of things, but yeah, it's just a matter of, there are a number of questions there that some are relative, some are not, that I would suggest you go through one by one to say which ones of these are relative to my scheme. If you are going to market and advertise your scheme, there's a really quick, simple page. This is what I was on about earlier. There's 3 like overview plans. There's a 1-page marketing plan. We can send you the copy of that as well. And it's literally, what can you do to grab people before? When you're talking to people, is how you keep them interested. And if people are following you, how do you keep them on board, basically? And there's a really nice book, if that's your thing, called the 1-page marketing plan. It's really simple read, but it's really useful. Policies and procedures. You need to look at what current legislation you conform to. Welsh Government, Future Generations Act, for example, Environmental Act, Housing Act, etc. What policies do you hold? So not only the legal policies that we need to apply to, but what policies are you going to have within your organization? You need to ensure that you've got those in place. Equality and diversity, safeguarding, environmental. Like I say, in your business plan, you can just do a highlighted level. The actual policies themselves, keep them as appendices. What insurances as well. You need to highlight that you are insured and what type of insurance you've got and to what level as well. Okay, so we're coming to the end now. You need to have a bit of an action plan. If anyone is going to invest in you, they need to see that you are going to do certain things by certain times. It doesn't have to be, like I say, War and Peace. I would suggest that a simple Gantt chart would do. So here we got, the days of the months of the year. And in January and February, we're going to be doing consultation, and we're also going to do it in July, and we're going to do it in November. We're going to do an advertising campaign in February and March. I know you're going to have different headings, but literally it just tells somebody what your overall plan is and when are you going to be focusing on certain elements. Your financial projections. I know Alan is going to look at finance next week. I'm not going to delve into it much at the moment, but these are the questions that you need to look at when you're looking at your financial projections. So you need to look at how often and when money comes in. Do you ask for people in advance or arrear? What can you differentiate between restricted and unrestricted funds? If you don't know what that means is like a restricted fund is that money you've had from a funder that you could only use it for the terms that has been directed to you. You cannot spend outside that means. Unrestricted funds are funds that you can use at your own disposal. You need to consider what you're going to do if you lose any contracts, or in that way you're avoiding dependency. If you have got all your eggs in a basket, that's a very dangerous game to play. So you ensure that you've got a nice spread of funds so that you've got some sort of contingency plan. Basically, you need to look at your overheads and how you'll do payroll. If those actually payroll, it would be questionable, depends on what type of scheme you're going to have, but you definitely need to calculate your overheads, the type of expenses that you're going to incur. You're going to have to look what equipment you need, and I would also suggest you provide an up-to-date debtor and creditor list in the appendices. And do you have a business plan policy in respect to reserves? Now, if you are a community-led housing scheme, there may be a thing that you are not going to hold so much reserves, or you're gonna have a limit on it, and that's something you need to decide, and will probably be determined on the structure and type of business you're going to go for. Like I said, once you've done your business plan, look at the what ifs, look at everything and say, so what if that goes wrong? There's lots of different versions you can measure risk. There's just two here. There's a site called Business Balls, which give away few. Just Google risk, calculating risk or contingency plan. There's loads of different templates. It's whatever you feel is suitable for you. But I would definitely ask, that's the one flaw that so many people I used to help with business used to think everything was going to work perfectly. And when things go wrong, they bury their head in the sand. You need to go through that whole process, your whole business plan, and say, what if that doesn't happen? And have some sort of contingency for it. It'll make your life easier, and it'll give you a lot less stress knowing that you've already considered a plan ready. So whenever you've done your business plan, I always ask myself these 5 questions. Have you covered everything? Is your answer clear, understandable from the neutral reader's perspective, and free from acronyms? Is your answer complete? Can you evidence everything that you complain? And what is your contingency plan? Have you covered your what ifs? Very final slide. I'm out of breath. This is your appendices. Like I say, put everything which is a bit chunky in your appendices. This is the stuff that people, if needs to be, they want more detail. This is the lumpier stuff. So in there would be your detailed finances, your policies, your insurances, your CVs, letters of support, etc. Leave all that to your appendices. This is the stuff that you need to go if you need to go to it, basically. So yeah, and I think apart from good luck, that's it. So yeah, sorry about that. It was a bit of a whistle stop tour. I usually do that session over 2 sessions and we have a bit more interaction, but I know I only had an hour, so I managed it. I went 2 minutes over in the end, Claire. So I hope that was helpful. The most important thing I can say to you is that why. If you start with why and you filter down from that, you should have the passion to drive it through, the passion to encourage other people to read it. Keep it simple, and yeah, it's just a matter of keep it simple and keep it entertaining. Do not do reams of text. We don't read it. Like I say, it's for you first and fundamentally, and it's what you need to read and to ensure that you know where you are going. You found your route to where you want to be, and to ensure that if anyone wants to join you on that ride, they're happy with what and where you're going, basically. Yeah, if there's any questions, I'll try and answer them.
Does anyone have any questions for Paul? We will send out the slides and the recording after the event, along with some of the tools. I can see there's a question from Catherine in the chat, Paul, and then Peter's got a question as well.
Well,
so,
Cool. Catherine. Yeah, Catherine. When doing field research, how many people to ask? It's a bit like how long's a piece of string, but it was, I think, like when I work on funding bids, I was told this by someone from the lottery once, and I use it as a rule of thumb. If I'm looking for £100,000, I'm looking for 100 people organically to say that this is a need. And that's what I aim for. So, and what I mean by organic need is that, do you want this? Yes or no? It's not an organic question. It kind of puts people. I'll give you an example. I was once involved in the development of a new community centre, and we went and asked everyone, would you like to see a new community centre? Everyone said yes. Who wouldn't? But when it came to running that community centre, how many people wanted to be genuinely involved in it? That was a different thing, basically. So now I would phrase that question more openly as like, if we could have a different, an amenity in your community, what would you like it to be? And I give them options of a community centre would be one of them, to see if that is something genuinely people like. But rule of thumb, it's a difficult one. It is a hard one. I think it's about looking at the scale of what you're trying to measure, basically. You know, if you went out and asked just 10 people something which you're going to make a fundamental decision on, that's a little bit of a risky strategy. I can't give you a clear answer, really. It's all relative to the size of the task at hand. Like I said, for financial reasons, when I work generally with bids, and I try to get 100 people per 100,000. Now, if you're only looking for 20 grand or 10 grand, I don't go looking for 10. I aim for something like 50. It's a really weird one, because you think people want these go for these big numbers, but if we ever looked at the L'Oreal advert, it said 89% of people want our would buy our product, and when you look at the small right in the bottom, it says we asked 130 people, and you think, for a company like L'Oreal, that's pathetic. So it's difficult, but the more people you can ask, and the more people from an organic reach, the better. That's what I look at it, because it's genuinely people asking for it. I think that means more to me than 100 people with a yes/no answer. I'd rather have 20 people organically tell me that they want this than 100 people telling me they want it from a yes/no answer, because the people have come up with that response themselves, and it's a genuinely demand, not an option on a plate. I hope that answers. It's difficult though. Sorry, Peter was next for a question. If you want to come off, that's it.
Actually, I don't know if it's so much a question as a statement, because you've presented to us business planning from a kind of very obviously generic perspective, and almost all of it applies perfectly well. But I think with housing, one thing you said towards the end, when you were talking about the financial projections, is that we're quite likely to keep a low level of reserves. Actually, for housing, it's the opposite, because it's accommodation, so we're living in a major asset in itself, but also a lot of the needs for repairs are quite expensive, and it's best to build reserves over a long period of time. So for example, if a roof needs to be replaced, it's a significant cost. You can't find that sort of money in 1 year, so you have to build up. So for example, where we are, we manage 236 apartments, and our roof is guaranteed for another 10 years, but the cost of replacement will be around 1.5 million. Clearly, over the next 10 years, we need to build up a reserve fund, which is very significant, in order to be able to meet that cost when it becomes due. And I think that's the case for anybody running housing. It's the business planning, not the detail obviously, but a more strategic plan, needs to cover a quite long period of time because of this. And I think when we come to business planning within community-led housing, we have to bear in mind that acquiring the assets is quite likely to cost a lot of money, both our own and money we raise, but also managing this asset once we have it is long-term. And we have to think that way, not just the next 1 or 2 years, which is where most businesses do their planning. And I think that's the only thing I really disagreed with you on, is in what you were saying. In for housing in particular, building a significant reserve fund over time and planning quite long term are things we really have to do, unless if we're going to avoid some major problem hitting us in the face sometime in the future.
I absolutely agree with you. I thought I put minimum or maximum. It was about you having a policy, whether you have a minimum or a maximum reserve, because
sure,
there's some organization. I used to work for a very large charity, and because we had so much in our reserves, we couldn't apply for much. But that it was I'm not going into detail, but it was a worldwide charity. So we needed to be reactive to worldwide events. So there needed to be quite a lot, as you could imagine.
Sure.
If Sudan needed relief tomorrow, my charity had to send it there. But then because we had so much in that reserves, when we went for domestic stuff, we couldn't actually apply for quite a few things. But I'm absolutely with you, 100%. I think it may have come across wrong, but what I was trying to get across with our policy is that you need to determine your own policy if you have a maximum or minimum, and need to choose your business structure accordingly, because then there's some business structures which you can't have a maximum. It would hinder you sometimes to have a lot of reserves. But exactly with the housing, absolutely, yeah, definitely. You need to prepare for, and these are not small things which happen, is it, with housing? They're going to be significant costs. Yeah, thank you, Peter, but I agree with that, definitely.
Just to add to that as well, next Monday, we've got a session which Alan is leading from our team about financial models. So we'll be covering some of that and financial modelling over a long period of time to factor in issues such as covering repairs and renewal of items in houses, renewals of assets and so on, as and when they're needed. So we will be covering that next week, and we wanted to do it after the session because it really complements the business planning side of things. I'll let Paul address the last question from Ryan, if that's okay, Paul, and then we'll let everyone get on with their day and enjoy the sunshine.
We got another one from Catherine as well. I will go to it, Ryan. I totally understand where you're coming from on that. Definitely. Yeah, sorry, I'm changing from teaching community-led stuff to business stuff on a daily basis at the moment. So yeah, I could have used the word outreach rather than marketing, but it is the same thing. I taught a similar session, and yeah, for someone else, and I changed the word marketing, community outreach, but I last taught this for a business class, and I've been on holiday since, so I didn't have enough time to change all the words around, sorry, but I'm totally with you. Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look. How do I know you've asked the right people with regards to your field research? Yet again, this is it's a good question. The right people are the people that, number one, it depends on what you're trying to ask and who you want your responses for. If you are targeting on a certain audience, then those are the people that I would be asking first and fundamentally, and it's finding those people. And that's the type of desk research, the thing that only like field research can do, sorry, that you need to go out there and find those people. If you're thinking something which has a bit more coverage, then yeah, it's just bloody good questions, to be honest, but very difficult to answer. So yeah, I call it, these are two really bad terminologies. Now, Ryan's not going to like these, but they are marketing terminologies. They call them shotgun marketing and they call them sniper marketing. And the shotgun marketing is when you need to get a general consensus and you ask everyone. In other words, you shoot a shotgun and little ball barrels go absolutely everywhere. And you hope that one person, or sniper is when you find a particular audience, a target audience, and you really delve down deep. So if I was sorry to go on about a sales mission, but if I was going to sell sports clothing, I wouldn't look at sports clothing specifically. I would look at an absolute niche. I don't know, gym clothing for short men that like rugby or something like that. Something really, really niche. Do you mean? It's just a matter of it's about identifying who your target audience is and what you need them for. It is very whatever's relevant, to be honest with you. So it is a difficult one, but that's what I'd say is that if you want a broad spectrum of people, you can just do a broad thing on marketing. Like if you're going to go on something like on Facebook, you can target directly on Facebook. That's the one good thing with regards to the marketing. You can drill down to do specific age groups, demographics, likes, dislikes. You could actually on Facebook target a questionnaire to 29-year-old males that live in Pembrokeshire, that like sustainable living. You could do that, and they would only go to those people which have registered those on Facebook. Because when you go on Facebook, you give them your likes, they've already got your whereabouts, they've got your age, and so that's where the money comes into Facebook. That's why we all have it for free, because they use our data for advertisers to do stuff like that. So yeah, that's all I can answer really, because it all is really relative and to what the product is. If you give me an example, I could probably help you a bit further, but yeah, it's just yeah, difficult. Just to clarify, I was asking if it's better to keep terms like marketing in a business plan so the investors will understand. Yes, I would. If this is going to someone like from a bank or someone from completely outside your sector, I would use, yet again, this is another, you are good at questions. These are all relative, but it is relative to the person that you're sending this to. Your business plan, like I say, will look different to what is going to the bank manager, for example, than what it is to people that you're trying to get into your scheme. So yeah, for the people that are more that business way inclined, I would change the terminology to suit them, as long as it's right, that it's what their understanding of marketing is. But you can also say, there's nothing stopping you saying that we are not particularly, our scheme is not particularly from a business mindset, but we still need to reach people. So we're going to call that community outreach, what you would usually understand as marketing. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you would explain to them that you understand their terminology and you're understanding their terminology, but this is your definition of it. I can't see a problem with that. Yeah, I hope that helps, Ryan. So if there are any other questions, it is very hot. I have to keep the windows shut because I got a rag and bone man going past every 5 minutes. So I'm boiling now at this room. So yeah, any other questions?
It doesn't look that way, so we can let you go and open the window again. Yeah, so I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us today. I know it's a hot day, and perhaps sitting in front of the computer isn't everyone's idea of a good time on a day like today. But we're really glad you joined us. I'll send out details of the session next week, and we're going to be coming back with more learning together sessions then in September. So we'll be having a think about what we're going to do. I will send out a feedback link after this. So if you do have any ideas about what else you'd like to see us cover, then do let us know. There's an opportunity to let us know in there. And we do take those on board. It's not just a tick box when we send out feedback forms. So please do take a couple of minutes. It's really quick to fill it in. And just to say,